Hey, this is Mira Beck, the founder of Overnight Success Publishing and host of Wake Up and Be Successful. And welcome to another episode of this awesome show. And today I have in studio special guest, Joseph Warren, who is host of two podcasts, serial entrepreneur, guy that's been up and down through everything in his life. And I cannot wait to hear his story along with you. So Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Miro.
Glad to have you here, and we just met briefly at an event not a long time ago. I actually really, your message with your first 100K podcast resonated with me because that's kind of what we cover on this show, and that's why I asked you to come here. And so far, we probably spent an hour and a half chatting before the show even started. So yeah, awesome guy, man. So thank you for being here. And I just want to dive right into introducing you or letting you introduce yourself and dive into your story. That's kind of what I'm really interested in, to hear where you came from, kind of the background and your maybe upbringing, and how did you get to where you are today on your success journey?
I have no idea.
That's
That's the short answer. I can expand upon that if you like. So I grew up family of six in England, New England.
Oh, there you go.
And we grew up in poverty. My dad, he was a blue-collar worker, and he had his own businesses, so he was entrepreneurial, but he did a lot of odd jobs, and he did the best he could to put food on the table. He always provided. We were hungry, though. There were six of us, right? So there was a lot of days where, we were living in poverty. And when I got a little older in my teenage years, I made an unconscious decision that my life was going to be different.
Yeah.
I was going to have three things when I became an adult. I was going to be happy, I was going to be healthy, and I was going to be wealthy. It was a really simple plan. I had no idea how to get there, but it was really a simple plan.
Well, was there a moment that made, like you said, unconscious, but like, was there really nothing that you've seen in the environment that kind of drove you to that point, or did it just happen? Was there a moment that you could pinpoint?
I would say
an event or something happening?
Well, we had my parents went through a nasty divorce, and there was a lot of childhood trauma that happened that I experienced personally.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it moved stuff in me.
Gotcha.
There was something happening. I couldn't articulate it. I was 8.5 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
I didn't know what was happening. However, as I got into my teenage years, I just knew I wanted out. I wanted out of that environment where, my family members, they would say, well, Joseph, you're not meant to be successful. We're not called to be successful as Christians.
Yeah.
Right? And they would use the Bible, and it was like something in me said, no, why not? Why aren't we? And I remember I twisted one of the biblical truths, which is the root of money. Money.
The love of
the
money.
love of money.
Yeah.
You see how I twisted it? So the love of money is the root of all evil. And as a young boy, all I heard and translated was money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And I made this unconscious decision deep down that it was wrong to be successful. It was wrong to make money. And for most of my lifetime and my career, I would self-sabotage all my efforts when I was about to break through because I had that limiting belief system running in the background. And it wasn't until years later, but I'm foreshadowing here.
But this is like a good point though, because I've heard it so many times from people that they are misinterpreting the statement from the Bible, right? Because, so I'm glad you brought it up because it's, I've heard it so many times. I'm sure that whoever is watching this show probably had the same experience.
Have you ever done it? And what was the one? What was the Bible verse if you...
we were not allowed to read Bible when I was growing up, so I haven't I wasn't exposed to that at early age. The communists just made us read some manifestos, I guess, or something. But
that's the Bible.
Probably, man.
Got it. So let me take on the journey here.
Yeah.
So at age 19 years old, before that, 17 years old, I did all the dead-end jobs, 9 to 5. I worked at the local convenience store in my neighborhood, and I did the things that young guys do. I always had this drive, like I want to be successful, but then subconsciously I would sabotage it, right? But on the front, my frontal lobe said, go go get out of here. So at 19 years old, I found an ad in the paper, and they were looking for this biz dev guy to come in and do sales and everything. And I joined this team, and I ended up being co-founders with these guys, and they were the business side of the business. So they had the business model, they had the funding, and I was the drive and the sales dude, and I was good with people. So they saw opportunity with me. Like, this guy can build our business. And that's what I did. And we started a professional fundraising company for national nonprofit charities. So all that means is we were the for-profit arm that went out with our team. I built a team of 50 people out on the streets doing the ugly work of asking people for money for your charity, because most nonprofits suck at raising their own money for their cause. And we were trained sales guys and gals, and we would go out there and raise all this money, and then our motto was to take a transactional fee for our services and grow our company. So within 12 months, we hit revenues of over $2 million, and we were like, what the heck did we just build? That's cool. And then we duplicated it into multiple cities with that same model.
So that's cool. So that was so you got really hardcore sales experience right out of the get-go. So
I say it was better than a Harvard education.
I bet.
And a lot more painful, though.
Yeah. And there is a lesson in this, because a lot of people have, the theory and they study and this and that, but like actually doing the stuff and learning from, any experiences you got and whatever, I mean, that's got to be so much better. I mean, even with my video stuff, I went to school for it, but did I learn anything? Not really. Everything I learned was the stuff that I did as extracurricular activities, spending 10 hours outside of the classroom for every hour in the classroom. And I think that really is the only way to fast track it.
I think both are necessary, right?
Yeah.
Because what they teach you in school is theory.
Yeah.
And then when you go out and actually do it, that's application.
Sure.
You need theory plus application.
Yeah.
I just got application with no theory. So I didn't have any business education, which, looking back, I kind of wish I had. I would have done so much better and avoided so many mistakes.
Yeah.
But what I got was leadership training.
Sure.
Because I was now responsible for 50 human lives, and I was 19 years old. And they were almost all of them were older than me.
Yeah.
35 of my 50 employees were female. Wow. And they would come to me with questions and coaching about like their marriage, their relationships. And I was like, I'm not qualified. Like, I'm a single 19-year-old dude. Like, why are you asking me about like what you should do with your husband? Like, I don't know. Yeah. But it stretched me, it expanded me, and really made me show up as a leader. And I had to set example. And what that looked like was, if my team did not hit their personal goals every day that I set for them, then I would get out into the field and do night work with them to make sure that they came back with their goals. And sometimes I'd be out till 1 a.m. in front of a 7-Eleven or a Walmart, like asking people for donations, even though I hit my goals. And I think leadership looks something like that, is where you look people in the eye and say, I don't just believe in you, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to help you hit your goals.
So what drove you at that time? Because, I mean, obviously, you were early young, so probably hungry and, but was it still the story from the past that when you decided that you want to really be successful, that made you work these long, crazy hours and, just running like that, or was it something else?
No, I would say it was that, but it was unconscious. It wasn't like something I would sit down and think about and reflect. I was working 110 hours a week in that business, week after week after week. So very limited sleep and every day. And I didn't have time to like reflect and where am I taking the business, anything. It was just do. Action, 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 action. And there was just that burning desire of something more. I couldn't articulate it. I just knew I needed to keep chasing it. And unfortunately, I realized years later I was chasing the wrong things altogether.
Sure. Yeah. But I'm assuming that part of your success was the hustle. If you were just, 9-to-5ing it and just doing that type of approach, you probably wouldn't end up where you are today anyways. But for people watching this, like, I think this is another key lesson from this whole thing. Whatever you're doing right now, do you have that fire inside of you? Do you have that burning desire? Or are you just doing it just because, you're doing it? Like, to really be truly successful, everybody I know that I've interviewed, I've met, all these successful people have a very similar story. And at some point in their life, they went through the hustling stage. And I think it's important part. So maybe just reflect on, your business right now and what you're doing. And if you're really feeling this passionate about what you do, and that would be one of the keys. So
Can I push back on that?
of course you can.
Cool. So I'd like to push back and cause a little friction, because friction is good in an interview. And here's my friction. What do you do when you started out in your business and you were passionate about it, and now it's years later and you don't have the passion anymore, yet it pays all your bills? What do you do in that situation? I have an answer, but I'm just wondering what you would do.
Well, I mean, just figure out. I would personally look at the bigger picture, because it pays the bills. Okay, is that all you want to do? Is just pay the bill, or is there something bigger? So, maybe. I mean, have you lost the big why? Maybe have you lost the reason why you got into this? Are you really serving all the people that you maybe set out to serve to begin with, or are you just getting comfortable now having a business that just pays the bills? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's more than one answer to this, but tell me, what do you think about it?
That's a good answer. Well played.
All right.
Yeah, I got it. So, and this is me just being transparent, is in one of my businesses right now, I'm literally in that position again. It pays all the bills, but I've stepped out of the business.
Yeah.
I've replaced myself in it. And now, yesterday, I had to fire the person who was running one of my companies because they weren't selling. They were too comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's their primary role. And they weren't taking personal responsibility for why they weren't selling. They were blaming and coming up with reasons and excuses. It was everyone else's fault but theirs.
Sure.
So that doesn't work in my culture, right? So I had to let them go.
Yeah.
And I had to let them go without a plan B.
So you're
I had
back in.
nobody to replace them,
Yeah.
Miro. So I'm stepping back into the business full time, a business I'm not super excited about because I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
However, I have to find what will excite me now in this. What new thing can I come up with that can put that spark in it?
Yeah.
Because it would be irresponsible for me just to let that business drop.
Sure.
Why? Because it's serving a whole lot of people in their lives as my customers. And I can't just say, well, I don't want to do it, so I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? And just kill off all those people that I built relationships with.
So you've had like the entire 24 hours to think about it now. So what is your, what are the first, thing or couple things that you're already seeing as a positive in this whole experience?
I get coaching and wise counsel when I don't know what to do. And I have really cool people around me that I'm able to just text.
Yeah.
So I texted my one buddy when I didn't want to fire this girl, and I was like, dude, here's the situation, what would you do? And he's a multimillionaire, very successful, and he specializes in building high-performance teams. So he's the right guy to ask, and he was like, 100%, you didn't even have to tell me 5 minutes. I knew within 30 seconds of what you described, you need to fire her immediately. And I was like, how do I do it? And he just shared with me, here's how you do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. And I was like, I don't have a plan B. He's like, don't worry about it. God will provide. And I'm just like, right? Faith.
Yeah.
Right? And that was really scary, really scary stepping back in. And I did it anyway without seeing any light at the end of the tunnel and having to know that the consequence, it means I have to step back into that business that I don't want to step back into 40 hours a week as I'm running 15 other different projects and multiple businesses. And it's like everything inside my humanity says don't do that. That's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
However, my faith says, no, trust. It's the right decision. This person was insidious and a problem in the business and needs to be removed. And just trust. So to answer your question, what shows up for me now is that I now have the opportunity to step back into my business and re-presence myself to the things I used to do that made me successful and got me to where I am right now.
Yeah.
And have to do them again, like go back out and sell.
Yeah.
And sit with people and really hear their pain points.
I think that my hunch is that you're gonna take it to the next level. And there's really, every time I remember any type of stepping stone where my business went to the next level, it's never that easy. If it was that easy, then everybody would do it, right? So sounds like you have some growth opportunities brewing, and I know it's usually not as comfortable when it's happening, but I'm sure when you look back a few months from now, you'll be like, yeah, this was the right thing to do. And I'm sure that it'll be awesome for the spaces. I mean, you have co-working spaces, right? So that's kind of your main business. So who knows where that is gonna
I was
go
keeping
to
that
and
out
go,
of the
so-
conversation,
Yeah.
but thank you for putting it right
Yeah.
in.
Well, why not? So before we get to that, there was a little gap that we just skipped over. You shared with me that there was some ups and downs and different paths that you took. So you are selling and build, have a team of 50 and all that stuff. You're flying high, making money.
Yes.
What's next?
Yeah, so what happened, I did it for 4.5 years, 110 hours a week, and then I burnt out.
Sure.
Both my business partners were running the business side of things and manipulating and moving stuff to push me out without me knowing it. I was out selling
Oh, wow.
and building teams. And that was unfortunate, and I felt betrayal really hard. And not to make them wrong, I've forgiven them and moved past that. However, that was a really important thing I needed to go through, because what happened was when I left the business, I made a really dumb adolescent decision, because I was like 23 when I left. I didn't have anything figured out about my life or anything. I had a successful business. So my really smart decision, I cut off and left the business and cut off all my income, not realizing my bills are still coming in.
Yeah, they do that.
And I ended up like in depression,
Wow.
severe depression. And I ended up I moved back to Long Island because that was my third office we opened in San Diego. And we got to 2 million, every office 2 million in revenue, and then we went to the next one. And it's like I moved back in with my mom.
Wow.
And I went from flying high, being in charge of 50 lives, millions of dollars in revenue, being really successful and admired and everything as this young prodigy. And now I'm living with my mom with no income.
Yeah.
And you can imagine the mind F
Sure.
that was going on in me. And I felt like a loser, and I felt like I was a fraud, right? That imposter syndrome. And I sat in the depression, and I swam around in the mud for a while, because there's actual comfort in being a victim.
Sure.
Everyone looks at you and goes, oh, it's okay, and you get this negative attention. And then that drive kicked in again that I had as a young man was get up. Get up. And I've always had that where something in me says get up. So I started I was like, what do I know how to do? That's effortless, and I want to do monkey work. Like, I don't want to think.
Yeah.
Like, because I had done that for 4.5 years. And I was like, I want to do something with my hands, just something manual. Blue collar like my dad. And then I was like, wait. My dad had a professional window cleaning company, residential, on Long Island. I'm back on Long Island. I did it for a year. With my dad. It was part of like your right to adulthood. You had to work the family business, and my dad would pay for college if you did that. It was actually a great deal, except I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a good deal for me. However, I learned the business, and I was darn good at it. So I said, you know what? Let me go out to the Hamptons so I don't compete with my father, and let me start a business out there with the wealthy people.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was able to build a 6-figure income business, washing windows of the multi-million-dollar homes out in the Hamptons.
Cool.
And that slowly built up my confidence again, but I was alone 13 hours a day just sitting there with the squeegee, and that wasn't good for me
Yeah,
either.
but so what happened after?
So after that, I retired, semi-retired for 5 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I became an atheist, and I pushed God out of my life. And I was like, what's the point? Right? I didn't get it. I didn't have a real relationship with him. I knew of him. I was raised with him, but never really met him like conversation like this. So I partied for 5 years, and I squandered all my money and everything. And I had all the girls. I had all the money. I had the cars. I had all the friends who wanted to be around the money.
Sure. Of course.
And I partied hard for 5 years, and I was almost murdered twice. And I got into some dark times, really dark times. And I could say, even though I had everything that society promised me would make me happy, it was all a lie.
Sure.
I was the most miserable, emptied, bottom out, depressed, borderline suicidal person you would ever meet. And what it took for me to get out of that space was for God to strip everything from me, because I'm really stubborn. And it looked literally like the prodigal son story in the Bible. And God came in within a 2-week time frame, Miro. Get this. I lost all my money. I lost my cars. I lost the places where I lived. I lost all the girls. Left me, go figure.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
the
of
money
course.
left, the girls
Yeah.
left. So weird. I lost my best friends. And even my girlfriend at the time dumped me on my birthday, all within a 2-week time frame. And I had no idea what just happened. I still to this day can't tell you how everything disappeared.
Yeah.
And I got stripped of everything, and literally God just ripped the floor out from me. And I bottomed out and I crashed, and I started weeping. And I hadn't cried since I was a little boy. And I called my older sister in Tampa, Florida. And I said, I don't know what to do. What should I do? And she said, why don't you move to Tampa and start over? You know, I'm here for you. And that's what I did. I moved to Tampa. I literally, when I say I lost everything, I lost everything.
Yeah.
I sold a few little belongings that God let me keep for $300 in gas money.
No. Wow.
And I had one little shitty piece of car that I took, and I drove cross country with $300 in gas money to Tampa, Florida
Wow.
to rebuild. And I woke up the next day from living in evil, sin, darkness, like really bad stuff. I woke up the next day to my little nieces and nephews jumping up and down on the bed, going, Uncle Joseph, Uncle Joseph, Uncle Joseph. And God transitioned me into this pure, wholesome, wonderful light environment. And from there, he slowly started to rebuild the broken Joseph, the broken Catholic.
Yeah. Which is another podcast that you have, The Broken Catholic. So that's cool. So you got to Tampa and started again from scratch. So one thing I want to bring up as a key point again is typically when people are successful and are able to get to a certain level, when they lose it all, they, usually they fairly quickly rebuild back to the top again, because some of the, no matter how bad everything was, you learned so much, I'm sure, in that time frame, that then when you started again with clear head and new life, I'm sure a lot of those experiences helped you to shoot probably straight to the top again. So
I would
what was
say-
the curve at that point when you decided to start again to when actually you became successful, in the business and that side?
Yeah, sure. Before we go there, I would say that the majority of people will do exactly what you said. I was not one of them. I wasn't smart enough to
how about
actually
that?
learn from those mistakes and to learn from those successes. I literally just was winging it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the formal business training, so I didn't connect. Oh, I did this strategy, this strategy,
okay.
this strategy. That worked. Let me apply it to what do I want to do now? I didn't have that way of being about me. So I literally just would wing things. So I started in a blue-collar job. I worked for a pest control company here in Tampa, and I just paid the bills till I saved up enough money to move out from my sister's place and get my own place and just start from there. And then from there, I slowly built up the confidence. It's just the same pattern over and over
so
again.
you follow the same pattern, yeah.
Same pattern, and eventually I built up the confidence. And it took years later of my stubbornness for God to teach me what he really wanted, to teach me to stop chasing the gods of money, the gods of success, the gods of pleasure. That doesn't lead to happiness. It's all a lie. It doesn't lead to fulfillment and meaning and purpose. And he had those answers for me. But I resisted. I just kept no, no, no. And it was years later, not too long ago from right here today, that I was able 5 years ago to start a co-working business and bring co-working to Tampa. And I messed up, dude, for literally 4.5 years. Like, just made dumb decisions, right? Again, I don't have the formal business training. And I learn and succeed by trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. It's not the most, it's not the smartest way to be successful, but it works because I have this never give up, always get up mindset.
That's
So I finally got to this, and we've now built a very successful business. We brought co-working, office rentals for entrepreneurs. We brought that to Tampa Bay, introduced it. But then it was 5 years of educating the marketplace because nobody here knew what co-working is.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us what co-working is? Maybe we can use this platform to educate more
I
people.
have no idea. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so co-working is simply this. You're working from home right now as an entrepreneur, and you think that it's working. And you coming up with all these ideas about how you're going to grow your business and make your first $100,000. The problem is you're bouncing your ideas off the mirror. And you're not in touch with reality, because here's why I think your business isn't working. I believe, and this is what I touch on my first 100K podcast, that the reason why 90% of entrepreneurs are struggling to make their first $100,000 and businesses fail, 80% fail in the first few years, is not because of lack of funding. It's not because of lack of this, lack of that, lack of whatever. It's because the number one reason why your business and other businesses are failing is because of isolation. Because when you get out of your bubble, your home office environment, and put yourself in contact with other really smart people, the resources are there. People can help, funding, etc. Everything comes your way. So if you're working out of your home office, that's the problem. So I created a solution for it called co-working. Right? And it's nothing new. It's all over the world, and it's fantastic. I just brought it to my area. And it's where you can come to a shared office environment. Plug into some Wi-Fi, grab a desk, grab a private office, jump in the conference room, meet with your clients there, and look professional rather than meeting at the coffee shop and they're in the back of the head saying, man, you can't afford an office? I don't want to hire you. And you think that's not happening? It's happening. They're just not telling you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But it's happening. So I provide that solution where you can not only obliterate your office overhead expenses, but you can also put yourself into the environment, the resources, the connections that will help you to grow and expand your business and make your first 100,000 or next 100,000.
So I'm glad I asked, because my assumption would have been just people that don't have an office, this is a cheap alternative to get an office. But the way you're positioning it with the resources, and I would actually say every time I'm part of a mastermind, I go to a meeting working on my business, it's a different energy. Like I have ideas flowing through me that I just couldn't get in the office.
It opens something up.
In the co-working space, it's the same thing. Probably just there's got to be different level of energy when you're in that environment, and meeting cool people and making connections. That's all part of it as well.
You're so right.
So it's really cool.
And I would also add to this, your personal productivity goes up by 30% minimum. I have science to prove that. Like when you start at CoCreativ, 30% productivity increase. Imagine what you could do with 30% more productivity in your business.
For sure.
That equals more revenue. Right? So immediately we help you with that, because I've designed the physical environment to be conducive to increasing productivity. No fluorescent lighting. Science shows, and you can Google this right now, that fluorescent lighting actually diminishes your productivity by 30%. You're welcome.
That's crazy.
Like right there. Like, so you make more revenue. My goal is to help you make your first 100K or next. That's why we're here. And it's bigger than the money. It's so that you can spend more time with your kids. It's so that you can go on vacation with your spouse, like you've been promising her, and actually be a man of your word in that. Right? It's those deeper things, because I think we all have families that we love, and that unifies us. And we're all working. You're working so hard in your business to spend more time with your family, but you're actually spending less time with your family and doing the very thing you don't want to do in order to justify the very thing you want to do.
That's right.
So what if you could come to CoCreativ? Imagine you could come to CoCreativ and cut your workday into 4 hours and go spend more time with your family, because you're making 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 a year in less time. That's what I do.
That's cool. And talking about the 30% productivity increase, statistically, all the statistics are made up, but I've experienced it. This one is perfect. I used to work 6 hours at home, and I would sleep for 2 hours on the couch because it was right there, and I couldn't help it. So you're right.
So is it really made up? Because I'm pretty sure you just proved it.
I did. That's what I said. This one is an exception. So no, I mean that's totally true. Like it's so hard to be. I mean, I think self-discipline is probably one of the toughest things that we all have to deal with.
I suck at it.
Me too. So putting yourself in that environment, like I definitely am more productive in the studio when I come to the office than working out of my house. So I know that's a proven fact. And then the second thing I want to touch on is um, spend a few minutes kind of talking about the whole 0 to 100K. And you've done 150 episodes on that podcast or somewhere around that neighborhood. So, you know, I mean, you didn't just start it. You've interviewed so many people about this process. If you had to pick a few keys that are kind of the common denominator to all those people, would you mind sharing that with people that are in that same ballpark right now?
Sure.
From 0 to 100?
Yeah, great question there. The key thing that comes up over and over and over again with all my guests that come on the show, and on the show I interview successful entrepreneurs about how they made their first $100,000 or their next, because I believe that's where 90% of us entrepreneurs struggle to break through, and nobody's talking about that. We're talking about how do you make $1 million, 10 million. Well, all the strategies that these gurus are telling you don't actually work down here with your first $100,000. Totally different set of challenges. So I give you those tips and strategies right from the people who are in it. They just crossed 100K, or it was really a short time ago, so they're really present to it. And you literally just start implementing these things into your business, and you start winning. Like overnight, you wake up and be successful, and it's awesome. So the number one thing I would say that shows up is, and it doesn't matter what level of success my guest is at. Whether they just made 100,000, I've had guests on that made 50 million. They're making it right now.
That's cool.
It doesn't matter. The number one thing that shows up is imposter syndrome. They don't believe they're successful yet. And it keeps coming back to the same thing on the show, the mental game of entrepreneurship. The thing that none of us are talking about. Going home feeling alone, feeling broke, feeling unsuccessful, feeling like you're a fraud. Like eventually the world's going to find out you're a fraud, that you're not really successful. And wrestling with that mental game. And that's the number one thing, that mindset, that scarcity mindset, that holds people back from making their first 100K. And I know that sounds intangible, but it is literally the foundation of it. So if your mindset is not right, your business is not right. How do you get your mindset right? I'll transition for a second. First, you got to get your faith right, because your faith changes your whole mindset. It gives you a new mind, and then you show up in your business completely authentic and powerful, and you make more money.
That's really cool. Anything else? Any other tip out of this stuff?
Sorry, I didn't give you anything tangible.
No, this is actually tangible to the point where I was just going to add actually to that, because it's a lot of people don't see themselves at the 100K level. Like you come in from $30,000 a year job, you start your own business.
Yes.
$100,000. That's like
It's so far
out, and you can never be 100K earner if you can't see yourself being there. You can never become a millionaire if you don't see yourself. Like you keep talking about not deserving it and being a fraud, whatever. Like if you have that game playing in your head, there's just no way you can ever get there. I experienced it myself, so I think it's very tangible, even though you think that maybe that was not as tangible as, go and sell 15 things of what.
That's what people want. Joseph, shut up with the woman fuzzies. Like, give me the 3 strategies to make my first 100K. Great. Go to first100K.com and sign up for my pre-launch of my course. And you can pay for that strategy, right? So I would say poverty mindset. Poverty mindset, that's what people are wrestling with. That's why they can't make their first 100K, because they grew up in a broken household. Their father abandoned them. Their parents abused them. All this stuff going on inside of you that's broken, and you're not fixing it, and you're like wondering why your business isn't working. Your mindset's not right until you go and say, I got to get me right before I could get my business right. I don't know how. Great. That's a great place to start at, is to get real and honest and transparent. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I have a really negative attitude about myself. Great, start there. Then look up to heaven, the universe, whatever you want to call, and give the name and say, God, show me you love me. Show me you love me in my life. Because if you don't feel loved, if you don't feel worthy, if you don't have your identity in your creator, and you're trying to find it in all the stuff and the gadgets, or like I did, the money and the success and the pleasure, at the end, it's all a lie. And you end up depressed and suicidal like I did. Who wants that? Because you can make
Yeah.
100K, but if you're not happy with you
I know.
and your meaning and purpose, what's the point?
Yeah, because that's the whole story. You know, how many successful people you know that have that whole, I wake up in the middle of the night and I feel unfulfilled. I have millions of dollars, house, family, this and that, and it's still not enough because they're missing the faith part
They
of
went
it,
and
right?
got the business right
Yeah.
before they got the faith right.
right.
And now they're this empty, broken shell of a person running a multi-million-dollar business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have a buddy, he did 300 million a year, I won't use his name, and he's living the lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
dude. He's traveling and he's dating all the super young New York models and everything. And I'm like, can I ask you a question? Are you happy?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, no, I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's the point then? He goes, well, I'm just stuck in it.
Yeah.
This is what I built. There's no way out.
Hmm.
And I was like, is that what you want? So how do you make your first 100K? First thing, get out of your home office isolation and join a co-working space. That's tangible. That's actionable.
Yeah.
Go do that like today, right? And if you're not willing to do that, then shut up and stop asking for strategies because you're not willing to invest in yourself. And if you're like, well, I go to the coffee shop because it's free. Again, you obviously don't see value in yourself or your business, or you would invest in yourself and your business. That's the first strategy. The second strategy is get present to where you are and stop acting like you're better off or more successful on all your social media.
Yeah.
Stop showing the highlights of your life and actually get real with people. Reach out to the friends around you that you trust. Like literally right now, text them like I did when I had to fire that person and say, I need help. This is where I'm at. I need help right now. And it takes you being courageous and don't try to look good. Show up right where you're at and say, I need help right here. Can you help? Because if you don't, nothing will change.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually dealing with reality. You're dealing with this make-believe.
Yeah. Great points. And it ties right to our message. Wake up and be successful, right? I mean, what's up with that? So if you haven't decided yet that you want to be successful, whatever that means to you, make the decision, because this whole show is about the time you decide, the moment you decide to be successful. All the strategies and all that stuff that needs to fall in place for you to have a bunch of money and all that lifestyle that you wish for, that's just, that comes after the decision. The decision must come first.
What does that look like specifically? How does your audience make that decision? What did you do?
With me, it started with goal setting. Like I just simply one day wrote down, a year from now, December 31st, whatever that year was, I have this, I am this, I feel like this, and I just painted the picture of what I wanted to see before you have to see it in your mind's eye before you can have it. Like there's just no other way around it. So whatever, if you just sit struggling and bouncing left and right and you have no direction, no focus, just focus down, sit down for a little bit, actually write down the stuff that you want and imagine where your business wants to be. If you want to have 100K, you need to write down that you have $100,000 or $100,000 business before you can ever have it. Or if it's the next 100K or million, whatever the number is. But I think just thinking about things, whatever, and not really focus, that's the big mistake. So
I think you're so right. Can I add to that?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I would just add, here's something I do as well as what you just said, right? Which, yeah, imagine at first you got to see where you're going before you ever get there. You wouldn't get in your car and drive to this studio without pulling out your GPS and your map, would you? That's what you're doing in your business.
Some people do, and then they call me.
Yeah, exactly, right? So what I would add to is you have to declare what you want out loud.
That's right.
You have to declare it with certainty. So if you're like, I'm imagining myself making $100,000 this year, even though it sounds so foreign and I have this poverty mindset, I'm going to imagine it because he told me to, but okay, I'll do it. I'll give it a go. Well, then you have to declare it out loud. By this date, I will have $100,000 in revenue in my business. Period. End of story. Declare it out loud. Declare it every morning. Keep doing that. It will happen.
That's right.
But if you don't declare it into existence, how did the world come into being if you're a Christian, right? God spoke words into existence. It's all the power of the word. And I know you and I have
Yeah.
different beliefs. However, we have commonalities
That's
there.
right. So, and just make sure you do it daily, not just like once, right? I mean, that's kind of should be a part of your routine.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, how many times do you shower per week?
that's right.
Every day, right?
That's right.
Same thing.
Yeah. So there's one other like, caveat to that too. Like you can be screaming every morning your declarations, but take action. Like actually do something.
Thank you.
Move. I mean,
What does
come
that
on.
look like? How do you
Come
know what
on.
action to take? I'm so confused.
right.
What action should I
Just
take?
Take action. I don't know.
What action?
Whatever. Call people. Pick up the phone. Don't hide behind email. Like do something. Make a list of people that have your money in their pockets right now and figure out how to connect with them and actually move it from there to here and all that. Like you gotta do something. And just specifically, like I'm just blown away with how few people use this thing, the phone, to actually make phone calls. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm gonna send out an email and hide behind a computer and everybody's gonna come to me, but it's like personal conversation, one-on-one, back to the basics, you know, forget about building mailing lists and having all these things to plan. Just pick up the phone and call a few people that are your potential prospects or clients. If you have something else to sell to your existing clients, pick up the phone and call them and tell them about it. Like there's so many grassroots strategies and like things that don't cost any money that you can do right now today.
I love
That's
that.
crazy. So
And I'll add to that and I'll say, whichever action you know you need to do, like ask yourself, what's the next right move in order to get where I want to go? Whatever that thing is that scares you, that makes the pit in the stomach, I don't want to do that, that's the right action. Like that's literally your radar going off saying that's the move.
That's
and
right.
then take a baby step in it. It doesn't mean you have to commit to, I'm going to call 100 people a day for the next 30 days. No, that's too big.
Yeah.
I'm going to call one person today. That's it.
That's right.
I'm just going to call one person. I'm going to get the cobwebs out. I'm going to, right? Just one small action. And then tomorrow, wake up, I'm going to call 2 people today.
Yeah.
And you start building this muscle every single day. And before you know it, you made $100,000
right.
plus
Overnight.
overnight success.
I love what you just said. So I'm gonna just add to that a little bit because
I like how we're tag teaming.
we
here.
are,
This is really
because
cool,
it's
bud.
like, you know, and we could be here for another 4 hours, but we
No,
are, you know,
we
limited.
cannot.
We
I have
cannot.
things to
He's
do.
got things to do. He's got a person he just fired and needs to go back to work. So, so we only have a few minutes. So now what was I gonna say? Yes, the one person at a time. It's super, like people think about in the, you know, overwhelming number of thousands of people on their mailing lists and all this stuff, and they can't do
Yes.
anything till it's ready and
Yes.
getting ready to get ready. When you look at your conversion and your statistics, would it be better to talk to 2 people a day or 1 person a day and having, you know, 80% of them become your client versus trying to send out 1 million emails and get 1 person out of it because the list is, you know, not really high quality list and stuff. So when you start adding it 1 person at a time, that's 5 a week, that's 40 a month. I mean, you can have way more or way bigger results and make more money from these small things that look small, but I think they're big actually.
That's all
And
success is.
that's
It's
it.
taking
That's
small, consistent action
Yeah.
in the direction you want to go. That's
Yeah.
it. Consistent. That's the
Yeah.
word. That's the word you want to
That's
skip.
right.
That's why you're struggling to make your first $100,000. It's not working. Stop skipping it. Take the action.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, last couple questions, rapid fire. What is your personal definition of success?
I just gave it.
What is it?
Taking small, consistent action in the direction of your goal.
No, I'm talking about you. So
Oh, that's how you get to
your-
success.
Not how you get there, but when you close your eyes, when you do your declaration,
Yes.
what does success look like for you personally?
And this is faith-based, right? Because this is where I am. God literally has transformed my life, so I no longer can leave him out of my conversations. If that offends you, go get offended with a flower. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, this is just my story. God has literally shown up in my life, dude. And what success looks like for me is me getting out of the way, my pride, my ego, my mess, my childhood trauma, all that stuff, so that God can work through me in the lives of others.
Yeah.
So allowing God to transform me and then bear fruit through me
Yeah.
in the lives of others, that's what success looks like for me.
That's awesome. And that's why I drive this question, because success is different for every person. I don't care about broad definitions of what people think is success, because, for you, it's faith-based. For some people, they want the money and the cars. Some people just want a great relationship. Some people just want to go to the beach on Fridays,
Yeah.
till, as long as they can. And then
Yeah.
if they can't, then they
I
have
would
to go,
push back a little there,
So-
not to correct in any way, but that's just, I used to do all that, but that's not actual success.
But it
That's
doesn't-
just filling the
I totally hear
voids.
you, yeah.
It's just filling the brokenness within you with
Yeah.
temporary band-aids.
Yeah.
It's not actual real solution. What's going to bring you meaning and purpose? Nothing else brings you meaning and purpose regardless of where you're at. And I'll just drop the truth and you decide if you want it or not. But going to the one who created you to ask him, why am I here? Why did you create me?
Yeah.
And we read all these books on purpose and they all say the same strategy, Miro.
Yeah.
Same strategy. Search within yourself to find the answers that you don't have.
That's right. The answers are usually there already.
Right?
You
You
just
wouldn't
need
ask
to
this
find
phone
it.
to
Yeah,
figure
that's
out
right.
who created it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. You can't come up with the answers yourself. You have to go outside of you.
Yeah.
I'm going off on a little rant there.
You're totally cool.
Is it making you uncomfortable? I
Not
hope
at
it
all.
is.
Not
Oh,
at
darn
all. Because there's no judgment. Like, everybody
Exactly,
has different,
dude. We're brothers.
different success story and different definition. The next thing, and this may be very similar for you, what is the big why? Like, why do you do what you do? Why do you get out of bed every morning? What's your purpose?
So in the past, it used to be so that I could prove myself to the world that I was actually successful and I'm not a failure.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be. I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but that was the drive. That was the language behind that. Now it's literally helping people to see their blind spots so that they can have lives that work,
Yeah.
to feel loved, to feel accepted, to heal the brokenness. Like one thing at that event we were at was people came up to the mic and they shared their vulnerability, man.
Yeah.
They shared childhood skadoosh, right? Bad stuff, abuse, molestation for years, like deep, hard, painful stuff. The problem though, they were still bleeding at the mic. They haven't healed yet,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
that's what I want to do. That's my why, is to show up and not show up and say, I have the answers for you, but to show up and say, I can point you to the person who has the answers for you.
Yeah. That's cool.
And he
That's
can
awesome.
heal you.
Give me a couple of books that you think everybody should read as a part of their.
Well, I hear you have a
journey.
book coming out.
Yeah,
Should I read it?
you should.
Okay, there you have it. I'm not a big book dude. And I know that goes against all the
Sure. Well, I
mega
mean,
millionaires.
audiobook, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what format it's in, But is there anything that you feel had, impacted you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going through my teen years, Tony Robbins,
Sure.
I put all that stuff into my head to get rid of that poverty mindset as best I could, right? So that really helped me propel into that first success, that business. Now I would say reading authors like C.S. Lewis, a book called Mere Christianity, which it removes all the labels of all the divisiveness between Protestants, Jews, Christians, and just says, here's the God we believe in.
Yeah.
Here's all the commonalities. Here's all the things we agree on. Let's talk about that. And what a brilliant writer. So that's the one I'm reading right now, so that I continue to let God work and transform me so that I can be of service to
That's
others.
awesome. Okay, that's perfect. You want to take a minute to tell people about your 2 podcasts and how they can connect with you if they want to
Sure.
hear more of you?
Yes, I doubt they. Why would you want to hear more of me? I've said too much. So you can find my main website, josephwarren.net. That's josephwarren.net. And the brand is Building Faith into Your Business. So if you want to learn how to stop doing that duality that you have in your life, where you're going to church on Sunday, nodding your head in agreement with your pastor, I believe that, yes, I believe that, and then showing up to work on Monday with spiritual amnesia because you forgot God at the door, and now it's cutthroat, hurt people, get to the top of the corporate success ladder. Well, just know that you're showing up inauthentically in your business. Everyone else sees it except you. and you're losing business because of it. And you don't even know you're losing the business because they're not going to tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So go to brokencatholic.com if you want the faith side of that conversation, and check out my podcast, Broken Catholic, on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you want the business, the strategies, go to first100k.com or iTunes and look at the podcast and get those real world. And I do a recap with every guest, and I sit there and write notes as they're talking. And I say, okay, here's the 5 things that you just told me are the actual top 5 strategies you did to make your first 100K. If you want to hear that, go check that out there. And then if you really want to, like if you're in a place where you're like, you know, I'm all about the universe and here's my spirituality and everything, and we just had a great conversation about that, but there's something inside of you that says, I want more. There's something missing. I can't articulate what it is, but there's something missing. And you want to find out your purpose, like definitively, with certainty, like maybe you see in me with my life right now. And so go to Facebook and just search Daily Holy Hour on Facebook. And I do a Facebook Live 7 days a week at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I teach you how to spend 1 hour with your Creator in silence, so that He can reveal to you why you're here, what's your purpose, the why behind the why. If you want that, you can find me on Facebook, Daily Holy Hour on Facebook.
Awesome. We'll put all the links below the video too, so just click on whatever you want to click on and get connected, and that's awesome. All right. Hey, thanks for the time. We've almost got it into an hour. And so, yeah, thanks for stopping by, man. That was an awesome conversation. And then for you guys watching this, or we should say you friends, or you guys and girls.
Just you.
Just you.
Always to one person.
So for you watching this, I hope that you had fun, as much fun as I had. I have to wrap up with the same thing I always do. If you do nothing with the information you got from this, it was waste of your time. We had fun, so I don't consider it a waste of my time, but just remember, take action, do something with the information, take another step or first step or whatever you need to do to get yourself to the next stage. And till next time, wake up and be successful.